Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike the intern, Ned Reynolds. Thank God it's Friday. So many baseball fans felt that Major League Baseball really wanted an Los Angeles, New York World Series. And while I have my own personal opinions on how trash that series actually was, how did the rest of the country come to the table when it comes to viewing?
Well, they came. They came to the table and enjoyed the viewing, I assume, depending on your allegiance, rather decisively. 7-year high in the TV ratings this year.
Wow.
The average was about 15,600,000 somewhere. That's the average of 5 games. The highest one was Game 5. The game 2 nights ago that the Dodgers came from behind and won 7-6. 18,600,000 for that Wednesday night. That's another record for this time period. And it does say a lot, Mike, because in TV ratings, that's a lot of folks watching TV. It's, from a numerical standpoint, maybe not as much as it has been in the past because our interests all change and all that sort of thing, but it's still a pretty good number, and Major League Baseball has to be terrifically happy with this.
18 million?
That was the final game. The average was 15 million, and that will sell a lot of advertising.
Yeah, and I wonder what streaming comes into play on that too. Just though, for reference, Super Bowl 120.
Yeah, exactly. There's a big difference. No question about that. A big difference, and that's one game, and
Also
this
true.
is a series of games. But it still, I think, represents the difference in the American thought process in sports now.
I'm curious. You know what? Actually, I'm curious. You make a valid point as far as the Super Bowl and just being one game, but I wonder, like, for example, what was the viewership for the AFC Championship last year? 55 million.
Oh yeah,
That's crazy.
There's a difference.
That's crazy. All right. So, Mr. Costas, he ain't doing it no more.
To an extent. I'm a little bit surprised, not overly so. I heard his last broadcast, and it was, I don't know what was wrong with him, if anything, but it was the Yankees and the Royals in the playoffs, and he announced that this would probably be it for him. But he had no enthusiasm, no drive. I was very surprised. He's only 72 years old, and I don't mean that to be facetious. That's young as far as I'm concerned. But he has decided to hang it up as a play-by-play announcer. Does that mean we won't see him again? Hardly. He is still going to remain active as a commentator and as an analyst, especially in baseball. You know, he's done the Olympics. He's done other sports. But Costas has said the routine of going to the press box and doing the play-by-play has come to an end as of yesterday.
Yeah, it's you know, it's crazy when you see guys like him that are so talented and so good at what they do, and then one day it just, I don't really want to do it anymore. And you can see it, or at least in our case, hear it. Ned, we've got free agency already in baseball. Cardinals make any moves yet?
They did. They have sliced 3 players, and by sliced, I mean that they cut them from the club. There were 3 pitchers who had options for the Cardinals to pick up, and the Cardinals said, we will not pick up your options next year, which means the Cardinals have to pay $1 million each to these players. That's the buyout option. And the pitchers are Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, and Keenan Middleton. Most of the folks here don't know anything about Keenan Middleton. He's a relief pitcher who was injured in spring training and never really made any appearances at all. But those 3 are sliced. For now, and I'm hedging the bet here, for now, Sonny Gray, who was the Cardinals' hoped-for stopper last year, is still with the team. And by that, I don't mean he won't be with the team next year, but he's being held because of trade bait. He can be placed in a package. Sonny Gray still has a lot of capabilities about him, but does he fit into a Cardinals youthful pitching staff in which you have a McGreevy and a Graceffo and a Matthews and people of this caliber? Probably not. But we'll see what happens. The trading can go on right up until spring training.
And there's going to be a lot of it. Royals do anything?
Say it again.
The Royals do anything yesterday?
The Royals haven't done anything yet, but they have until, well, they have this weekend and then until Monday, And the Royals may pick up some free agents. The Cardinals will not. They're not going to the free agent market at all. They'll rely on trades.
Arguably probably one of the worst first halves of a Thursday night football game last night, in my opinion. What about yours?
It wasn't very good, to be honest with you. And you kind of expected that when the Jets are playing the Texans. Texans were thought to be a contender this year and still might be, but it still doesn't conjure up a great image of some good football, and it was not in the early going. But at the end, pretty exciting finish, and the New York Jets came away with a win, broke a losing streak. Jets 21, the Texans 13. Late touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams. Big deal, and that's an old combination from Green Bay Packers days, hooking up again for a touchdown that wins the game. 21-13, Jets end the losing streak. Now it's on to a very big weekend coming up.
I started CJ Stroud last night, and almost the entire first half he was -1. Yeah, it was great. Great watching that game. We've got some college football action this weekend. Obviously, the Tigers are off, but we've got some pretty good games to watch.
Yeah,
man.
I'm going to give you 3 of my big games coming up, and this is not intended to induce anybody into any thinking process, but the Oregon-Michigan game I find to be absolutely fascinating. These are the teams on a different scale. Oregon's number 1 in the country. Michigan, the defending national champions, probably won't defend their championship because they're not very good. Oregon goes into Ann Arbor, Michigan, the big house, 109,000 folks, as a 14.5-point favorite. Gosh almighty, play Michigan. My goodness, the Wolverines are not that bad. And indeed, I think they give Oregon a pretty good fight. Won't beat them, but I think that Michigan beats that point spread. Florida, Georgia, the world's largest cocktail party, being held for its, is it final year or next to final year, in Jacksonville. They're refurbishing the stadium down there, Everbank Stadium, and that's where they play it. Allegedly a neutral site. But these are pretty good teams. Florida, much less than Georgia. Georgia's a 14.5-point favorite. Give those points and take Georgia in this one. UCLA at Nebraska. The Huskers are coming off it's a loss, but it was a very close game with Ohio State and Columbus last week. UCLA's had a down year. Nebraska, 6.5-point favorite. Give those points and take Nebraska. They are my 3 top ones. Kansas State has a big one with Houston, and I'll take Kansas State, but the point spread's too high. And that one, it's about 16 points.
Really? Yeah, well, yeah. I'm just going to be watching as a fan of my K-State Wildcats, and hopefully they can beat Houston. Missouri State on the road tomorrow, right?
No, they're
here.
They're here.
Who are they playing?
They're playing Southern Illinois, and this, for the foreseeable future, will be the last meeting between these teams. And, Mike, these are arch rivals. Long time. I've been here for 55, 56 years, whatever it is. And it's always been the Bears and the Salukis. Not necessarily always in football, but in basketball, they always seem to hook up every year. It went through a down period in the late 70s, 80s when Southern Illinois went big time. But now the Bears are big time. And the series from the Missouri Valley Conference has really been exciting to see. Carbondale's not very far away. And it dates back to the old days of Walt Frazier and Curtis Perry of the Bears and some really great basketball. Anyway, the football tomorrow at 2 o'clock is when they'll kick it off. Matches, not a very good SIU team. They've been up and down this year, and the Bears have been mostly up. 6 straight wins, going for their 7th tomorrow. That will be a very, very big deal. Now, the Bears are going, as everybody knows, 1A next year, or FBS. SIU is not. That means this, for the foreseeable future, is the last meeting between these two schools in football. Now, they will play basketball this year and baseball this year, and then that'll be the end of the competition.
Where are you hitting the parking lot tomorrow?
I'm going to the south end, and that's where us old people like to gather, and we have a heck of a time.
Oh, I know you do. Sometimes you're asked to leave. You have a great weekend, sir, and I will see you on Monday.